The power of the jury. It says the power of the jury or the power or the judge has no power to bind their conscience. Who is their conscience? The juries. It says it cannot be said that they are in duty bound to adopt it as their own. So the judge cannot tell a jury what to do. And that was from Supreme Court of Indiana in 1857. Yeah, Indiana Supreme Court, 1857. It says there is no doubt that the jury are the judges of the law. Who? The jury. That's why they don't want y'all to have none. Because you and 12 other dudes can be like, no injured party, no damaged property, nobody was stolen from. Oh, well, he's not guilty. Or we can just dismiss the case. Just like that. So how important is a trial by jury? It's so important that they went to war over it. Let me teach you something. This is from my book, Understanding the Courts. Trial by... Oh, let's see. Here we go. So Thomas Jefferson said in 1775, statutes have been passed for extending the jurisdiction of the courts of admiralty and vice admiralty beyond their limits and depriving us of the accustomed, what is the accustomed? That's the common law, an inestimable privilege of a trial by jury in cases affecting life and property. So you didn't get to go to jail or prison without a jury, and they didn't get to take your stuff without a jury. So that was the reason they went to war in the Revolutionary War. And it says, King George, this is the Declaration of Independence. King George has subjected us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution. Remember, they didn't have a Constitution. So they were talking about the Magna Carta. It says, so King George has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution, because they were the 13 colonies at the time, unacknowledged by our laws, the common law, and has given his assent to pretended legislation. What's pretended legislation? Fake laws, right? And he gives reasons. He says, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, and for depriving us of a trial by jury. How important is a trial by jury? It's so important. I'm about to read some stuff to you. All right, so when I say, who is this? This was the Supreme Court of Vermont in 1849, where they say the jury are the judges. Ooh, don't tell nobody that. It says this is the true principle of the common law. The Supreme Court of Vermont said that. This power the people exercise in criminal cases. So that's why the Constitution says in all criminal cases, you get a trial by jury. So if they label something a crime and they don't give you a trial by jury, that's because it's admiralty and you need to call them out on it. Because in all criminal cases, you get a trial by jury. That's the Constitution, and that's the Constitution in all 50 states. It says this power the people exercise in criminal cases, and the power thus retained by them furnishes the most effectual security against the arbitrary power by the judges. Why'd they do that? Because of the judges. The judges were the problem. So when we get to the Declaration of Independence, and it says they've been depriving us of a trial by jury, why? Because they know if you're the judge, you won't put up with no foolishness. Right? Talk to me in the comments now. Talk to me. What up, what up? So that's how important a trial by jury is. It's so important they went to war against the largest navy in the world. I don't think they won, but they did it. They had the balls to do it. right? It says they were depriving us of a trial by jury. Where do they deprive people of a trial by jury in this country? Tax court. And they say it in the Declaration of Independence, imposing taxes on us without our consent. And then on top of that, yet they depriving us of a trial by jury. Because if we got a trial by jury, then we're the judge. And we determine the law and the fact. And if we say he's not guilty, or we say case dismissed, well then, yeah, they don't want that. You get in trouble with that, what? So how important is a trial by jury, y'all? It's incredibly important. So this same case, it says the people. So this power, the people. I'm talking about my Patreon. I'm reading off of my Patreon. So this power the people exercise in criminal cases, and the power thus retained by them, furnishes the most effectual security against the arbitrary power by the judges. It affords the best protection to innocence. And it says the power of juries to determine the law as well as the facts. Who determines it? You do. You do. You determine it. And they can't tell you nothing about it. That's how powerful a trial by jury is, y'all. It says the power of juries to determine the law as well as the facts in criminal trials was essential to the protection of innocence. And it says the bias of judges was always strongly in favor of the crown. The crown? This is 1849. What are we talking about the crown for? They know something we don't know, right? Now, in this same case, I'm going to read you two stories. This same case, it says in 1649, this guy was indicted for high treason against the government. On his trial, he argued to the jury to show that they were the judges of the laws as well as the facts, and the jury acquitted him against all the charges of the judges. How important is a trial by jury? Type it in the comments. How important is a trial by jury? It's incredibly important. Second story. The same guy says the parliament failed to convict. So parliament having failed to convict. So the first time this same guy said that got acquitted by the jury. So the parliament who failed to convict this dude passed a special law banishing him by name from England, declaring that his return to England shall be deemed a felony for which he should suffer death. And he returned. He returned back to England. And the jury, however, against the charge of the court, held the act under which he was prosecuted to be illegal, and they found him not guilty. How important is a trial by jury? Very important, boys. Very important. And that was the Supreme Court of Vermont in 1849. How important is a trial by a jury? It says here, this is the Supreme Court in 1925. It says the context of the Constitution shows that the word offenses only include crimes and misdemeanors triable by jury. So if they label something an offense, you're supposed to get a trial by jury. And it says to construe the pardon clause to include contempt of court would be to violate the fundamental principle of the Constitution. The language of the Constitution cannot be interpreted safely except by reference to the common law. That's why they hate it. They hate the common law, y'all. So the language of the Constitution cannot be interpreted safely except by reference to the common law. It says the statesmen and lawyers of the convention who submitted it to the ratification of the conventions of the 13 states were born and brought up in the atmosphere of the common law. They were familiar with other forms of government, recent and ancient. When they came to put their conclusions into a form of fundamental law, that they expressed them in terms of the common law, confident that they could be shortly and easily understood. How important is the common law? Incredibly important. Right? So the language of the Constitution cannot be interpreted safely except by reference to the common law. There you go.